The night was cold and the streets were empty. Broken lights flickered above, casting weak shadows across the cracked road. A tiny alien girl, no more than 8 years old, walked slowly with bare feet, clutching a dirty little cup close to her chest. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled, and her big glowing eyes showed both fear and hope. She whispered to herself with every step, "Just a little milk. Just a little milk." She moved from one door to another, knocking gently. Sometimes she called out in her weak voice, "Please, milk, only a little." But every door stayed shut. Some voices behind the doors muttered cruel words. "Go away, filthy thing. You don't belong here." Others laughed as if her hunger was a joke. Her small shoulders shook, but she didn't stop. A group of children across the street noticed her. Instead of helping, they pointed and laughed, throwing small stones in her direction. She covered her head with her arms and hurried forward. The cup in her hand rattled with each step. But there was nothing inside. She stopped under a broken street lamp and whispered again, "Please, someone." "My brother is crying. I just need milk." From the shadows, a human man stood quietly. He had been watching her for some time. His jacket was old, his face rough from years of work, but his eyes followed the girl carefully. He noticed the way she walked, weak but stubborn. He wondered why such a small child was wandering alone at this late hour. The girl reached another house and knocked. This time an older alien woman opened the door halfway. The girl lifted her cup and begged, "Please, my little brother. He is sick. Only some milk." The woman scowled. "Go away before I call the guards." The door slammed, and the girl flinched as if she had been struck. Her legs trembled, but she kept walking. The man in the shadows felt his chest tighten. He wanted to step forward to offer something, but he hesitated. He knew what people would say if they saw him helping her. Humans were not supposed to involve themselves in alien strays. But as he watched her tiny figure fade further down the street, his feet began to move without thinking. The girl turned. Into an alley where the wind was colder, she sat down beside a wall, clutching her cup to her chest. Her small body shook as she whispered, "I promised him. I will bring something back. I promised." Her eyes filled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. She couldn't let her baby brother see her cry. She had to be strong. The man stopped at the corner of the alley. He could hear her voice, soft and broken. His hand reached into his coat pocket, feeling the bottle of milk he had bought earlier for himself. It wasn't much, but it was something. He looked at her again, sitting there with her knees pulled to her chest, her thin arms wrapped around that useless empty cup. Something inside him shifted, but before he could step closer, another group of people passed by. They glanced at the girl and sneered. "Still begging? Pathetic creature." One of them kicked dirt in her direction. The girl lowered her head, clutching the cup tighter. They laughed as they walked away. Their voices echoed sharp and cruel. The man's fists clenched. He couldn't stay silent anymore. He stepped out from the shadows, his heavy boots echoed in the alley. The girl froze, her eyes wide with fear. She tried to hide the cup behind her as if he might take it away. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Please, I will leave. Don't hurt me." He stopped a few feet away, crouching down to her level. His voice was calm but firm. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't believe him at first. She pulled her knees tighter, watching him with fearful eyes. He slowly pulled out the bottle of milk from his pocket and held it where she could see. Her breath caught, her glowing eyes locked on the bottle. She wanted to grab it, but her body didn't move. Fear kept her frozen. The man placed the bottle gently on the ground between them and then stepped back. He didn't push her, didn't demand anything, just waited for a long moment. The alley was silent except for the sound of her shaky breaths. Finally, she crawled forward and touched the bottle with trembling hands. She lifted it to her lips, but then stopped. Her little head shook. She whispered, "Not for me, for him," and pulled the bottle close to her chest like treasure. The man felt a heavy weight in his chest. He understood now. This little girl wasn't begging for herself. She was begging for someone else. Someone even smaller, weaker. She stood up on shaky legs, holding the milk tightly, and turned to leave the alley. She didn't thank him, didn't even look back. She was too scared, too desperate, but the man followed her from a distance. His eyes hard, his mind made up. Something told him this was only the beginning. The little alien girl walked quickly through the dark alleys, holding the bottle of milk tightly against her chest. Her small legs shook from hunger and cold, but she didn't stop. She whispered again and again, "Hold on, I'm coming. I have milk now." As if speaking to someone waiting for her, she passed through a broken fence and entered an abandoned building. The roof had holes, and the walls were cracked. It was a place no one wanted to live in. But for her, it was home. She carefully pushed open a rusty door and stepped inside. The smell of dust and damp filled the air. Her glowing eyes adjusted to the darkness, and she hurried deeper inside. From a corner of the broken room came a soft but painful sound. A baby's weak cry echoed through the silence. The girl's face tightened. She rushed toward a pile of old blankets where a small alien baby lay curled up. His skin was pale, his little body shaking. His mouth opened and closed as he cried softly, too weak to even scream. She knelt beside him quickly, tears filling her eyes. "I'm here. I'm here," she whispered. She carefully uncorked the bottle of milk. Her tiny hands trembled as she lifted the bottle to her brother's lips. At first he didn't move, his eyes half closed. She shook the bottle gently, letting a drop touch his mouth. After a long moment, his lips moved, and he began to drink, slowly. The girl let out a deep breath, her whole body shaking in relief. She brushed his thin hair with her small hand. "See? I told you I would bring something. I promised you, didn't I?" she whispered. She held the bottle steady as he drank, her glowing eyes shining with hope for the first time that night. From outside the broken door, footsteps echoed faintly. The girl froze. Her head turned sharply. Clutching her brother closer, she whispered, "Quiet. Don't cry now." Her little heart pounded in her chest. The door creaked open slowly. A tall shadow entered the room. The girl gasped and pulled the baby close, shielding him with her small body. Her eyes widened in terror, and she whispered, "No. Please, don't take him." It was the human man. He stood silently in the doorway, watching the two children. His rough face softened as he saw the scene. The tiny girl shaking but still protecting her baby brother. The little one finally, drinking milk. His chest tightened at the sight. The girl's voice trembled as she spoke. "Please, I don't have anything. Don't hurt us. We will go away if you want." She hugged the baby tighter. The man took a slow step forward, raising his hands gently to show he meant no harm. His voice was calm and low. "I won't hurt you." She didn't believe him. Her whole life, she had been warned. Humans were dangerous. Humans were cruel. But this one, he had given her milk. Still, her fear kept her on edge. Her eyes darted to the door, wondering if she should run. The man crouched down, lowering himself to the children's level. His voice stayed calm. "I just wanted to see if you were safe." The girl's lips quivered. "Why? Why are you helping us?" The man had no answer at first. He looked at the baby slowly drinking, then back at her. "Because no one else will," he finally said. His words were simple, but heavy. The girl blinked, her arms still wrapped protectively around her brother. The man slowly pulled something from his pocket, a small piece of bread wrapped in cloth. He placed it on the floor near her and then sat back against the wall, leaving distance between them. He didn't try to touch them, didn't try to take the baby. He only watched quietly. The girl's stomach growled at the sight of the bread, but she hesitated. Her brother was still drinking the milk, his tiny hands gripping the bottle weakly. She whispered to him, "Don't stop. Drink more. You'll feel better." Her glowing eyes softened and tears rolled down her cheeks. Minutes passed in silence. The man stayed where he was, his eyes on the two children. The baby finally finished drinking and fell asleep in his sister's arms. His breathing steadier now. She laid him down gently on the blankets and then, slowly, reached for the bread. She tore a small piece and put it in her mouth, chewing carefully. Her eyes flicked toward the man again and again, as if afraid he would snatch it back, but he didn't move. Her voice was small but filled with confusion. Humans don't help us. Why are you different? The man leaned his head back against the wall and sighed. Maybe because I know what it feels like to be alone. The words made her pause. She hugged her knees and stared at him. In her young life, she had never heard such words from a human. She wanted to ask more, but her throat tightened. She only whispered, "If they find you here, they'll punish you." The man gave a small nod. "I know." His voice was calm, but his eyes were serious. He already understood the risk, but looking at the two small lives in front of him, he knew he couldn't just walk away. The girl lowered her head. She didn't trust him fully, not yet, but something in his eyes felt different, not like the others who pushed her away. She whispered softly to herself, Maybe not all humans are monsters." The man stayed in the room longer, keeping watch while the children rested. Outside, the night grew colder and darker, but inside, for the first time, the alien girl felt a little less alone. The night grew deeper, and the broken building stayed quiet except for the soft breathing of the baby wrapped in the blankets. The alien girl sat close to her brother, her small hands gently resting on his chest as if making sure he was still alive. Her glowing eyes lifted again and again toward the human man sitting a few steps away. His face was half hidden in the shadows, but she could feel his gaze on them. Her heart beat fast. She whispered softly, "Why are you here? Why didn't you leave?" The man didn't answer right away. His hands rested on his knees and his eyes looked tired. After a long silence, he said quietly, "Because I was worried. Because no one should be left alone like this." The girl hugged her knees tighter. Her voice shook. "Everyone said humans are cruel. They said if we come close to you, we'll disappear. They said humans don't care about us." She looked at him sharply, her little body trembling. "Is this a trick? Are you trying to take us away?" The man shook his head slowly. "No." His voice was calm, almost gentle. "I don't want to take you anywhere, I just want to help." The girl didn't move. Her whole body was tense. She remembered the stones thrown at her in the street, the cruel words at every door, the way others laughed at her pain. Trust was dangerous. She had learned that again and again. But her baby brother had drunk the milk he gave, and now he was breathing better. The man had not taken it back. He had not called the guards. Her little voice came out broken. "If I trust you and you lie, then my brother will die." Tears filled her eyes as she clutched the blanket tighter around the baby. "I can't lose him." The man leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His rough face softened. "I won't let him die." His words were simple, but his tone was steady, not like the empty promises she had heard from others. He looked directly into her glowing eyes. "I swear." The girl's lip trembled. She didn't understand why a human would care. There was no reason, no reward. Still, something in his eyes made her pause. She whispered, "Why?" The man's gaze shifted to the floor. He rubbed his rough hands together as if trying to find the right words. Finally, he said, "Because once I had a little sister. She didn't survive. I couldn't help her. I can't change the past, but maybe I can help you." The girl blinked. Her chest tightened at his words. She looked at her baby brother, sleeping soundly now after drinking the milk. She thought of the times she had begged until her throat burned only to be kicked away. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever compared their pain to hers. Still, fear didn't leave her. She whispered sharply, "But what if the guards come? They'll punish you. They'll punish me too. You'll hand us over when you're afraid." The man shook his head again. His jaw tightened. "I won't hand you over." His voice carried weight this time. "If they come, They'll have to go through me first. The girl gasped at his words. She stared at him, trying to see if he was lying. His eyes didn't waver, his voice didn't shake. For the first time, she didn't feel like prey. She felt like someone was standing between her and the danger. She lowered her head, brushing her brother's hair gently. "I want to believe you," she whispered, "but it's hard." Her tiny body leaned forward, exhaustion pulling her down. But she didn't let go of her brother. She would never let him go. The man reached into his coat again and pulled out another small piece of bread. He placed it on the floor, just like before. Then he stood up slowly and stepped back toward the door. "I'll stay outside. You don't have to trust me now. Take your time. I'll be near if you need me." The girl's glowing eyes followed him, confused. He was giving her space. He wasn't forcing her. He wasn't demanding thanks. Her small voice called out before she realized. "Wait," the man paused, turning his head slightly. She hesitated, then whispered, "Don't leave too far, it's dark. And I don't like the dark." For the first time, the man allowed himself a faint smile. He nodded once. "I'll stay close." Then he stepped outside, leaning against the wall near the broken door. Inside, the girl held her brother tightly, but her heart felt different. For the first time in a long time, there was a shadow of safety. She still didn't fully trust him, but deep inside, she wanted to. She whispered softly to her sleeping brother, "Maybe, just maybe, this human isn't like the others." The night went on. The wind howled through the cracks in the walls, but the girl finally closed her eyes beside her brother. Knowing someone was just outside watching gave her a strange kind of peace. The man kept his promise. He stayed awake, keeping guard under the broken sky. He didn't know what the morning would bring, but he knew one thing. He couldn't walk away now. The morning came slowly. The first rays of light slipped through the holes in the broken roof. The alien girl woke up with her baby brother in her arms. His small chest moved steadily, his breathing soft and calm. For the first time in many nights, he wasn't crying from hunger. She touched his cheek and whispered, "You're safe, my little one." She looked toward the doorway. The human man was still there, sitting against the wall with his head lowered. He hadn't left. He had stayed awake all night, guarding them. Her glowing eyes softened, but then worry filled her again. She knew kindness often came with a price. She whispered to herself, "Why is he still here? What does he want?" The man stirred when he heard movement inside. He stood slowly, his back stiff from the cold ground. He stepped into the room and saw the girl's worried eyes on him. He raised his hands gently. "It's all right. I just wanted to check if you're both fine." The girl nodded weakly, but her little voice trembled. Why do you help us? You should go. If others see you with us, they'll hate you too." The man sat on a broken chair in the corner. His voice was quiet. "Let them hate me. I don't care. I can't watch children suffer like this." His eyes moved to the baby. "He looks better already." The girl hugged her brother tighter. "Yes, because of you," she whispered, then quickly looked down as if afraid to admit it. The man leaned forward. "You can't stay here. This place isn't safe, the cold, the damp. It will make him sick again. Come with me, I have a small cabin. It's not much, but it's warm and you'll be safer there." Her eyes widened. Fear returned. She shook her head. "No, I can't. If I go with you, people will see. They'll tell the guards, they'll take us away. Please don't trick me." The man didn't push, he sighed. "I understand your fear, but staying here will kill him, and maybe you too. Sometimes, you have to risk trust." The girl looked at her brother again. His tiny fingers curled around her torn sleeve. He needed more than just one bottle of milk. He needed food, warmth, safety. She bit her lip, her heart battling with fear. Finally, she whispered, "If I go with you and they come, will you protect us?" The man's jaw tightened. His voice was steady. "Yes, I will protect you." Her eyes searched his face, looking for a lie, but she found none. After a long silence, she nodded once. "All right, I'll come." The man stood and offered his hand. She looked at it but didn't take it. Instead, she lifted her brother carefully, wrapping him in the blanket. "I can walk," she said softly. Together, they left the broken building. The girl clutched her brother, her eyes darting around in fear of being seen. The man walked beside her, his tall frame casting a shadow over her small body. The path to his cabin was quiet. Birds flew over the ruined colony, and the streets slowly filled, with people starting their day. Some looked at them, frowning. Some whispered. The girl lowered her head, trembling. "They're watching us," she whispered. The man kept walking, his voice calm. "Let them watch. They can't stop me." When they reached the edge of the colony, they entered a small area where the houses were spread out. Away from the noise stood a lonely cabin with smoke rising faintly from the chimney. The man pushed the door open. "This is my place." The girl stepped inside carefully. Her eyes widened. The cabin was small, but compared to the broken shelter, it felt like another world. There was a fire in the corner, a table with bread, a shelf with a few old blankets. She whispered, "It's warm." She laid her brother down on the bed. His small face relaxed even more in the warmth. The man gave her a bowl with water and another piece of bread. "Eat," he said simply. She hesitated, then took it. Her small hands trembled as she ate quickly. Her stomach had been empty for too long. Tears filled her eyes as the taste of real food touched her tongue. She whispered, "Thank you." Without even realizing it, for a moment the cabin was quiet, but outside neighbors passed and noticed the human's open door. Whispers began. "Did you see? He brought alien strays into his home. He'll get punished for this. Why risk his life for worthless creatures?" By evening, the man heard a knock on his door. He opened it to see two men from the colony. Their eyes narrowed. "We saw what you did. You're hiding them. Don't be foolish. If the guards hear, you'll lose everything." The man's face hardened. "I won't throw them out, they're children." The men scoffed. "Not our problem. If you care so much, you'll pay the price." They left, muttering threats under their breath. The girl had heard everything. She clutched her brother and whispered in panic, "See? I told you, they'll punish you. You should have left us." The man shut the door firmly and looked at her. His voice was steady. "I don't care what they say. I won't let anyone hurt you." Her glowing eyes stared at him, filled with confusion and fear, but also something new, something she had never felt toward a human before, hope. She lowered her head, whispering so softly he almost didn't hear, Maybe you really mean it." The man turned back to the fire, his jaw tight. He knew the days ahead would be harder. The colony would not forgive him for this choice. But as he looked at the children resting in his cabin, he also knew something else. He had already accepted the burden. The days passed slowly. The little alien girl and her baby brother grew stronger in the warmth of the cabin. The fire kept them from freezing, and food, though simple, kept them alive. The girl's eyes began to shine a little brighter. Her brother's weak cries turned into soft giggles when he was fed. For the first time, there was peace, but peace never lasts long. Outside the cabin, whispers spread through the colony like wildfire. Neighbors muttered, "He's hiding them. A human protecting alien strays. He'll bring trouble to all of us." Every time the man went to fetch water or trade for bread, eyes followed him. Some looked with pity, most with anger. One evening, as the fire crackled inside, the girl was feeding her brother from a small bowl of warm milk. The man sat near the window, his eyes scanning the dark streets. He could feel, and the tension growing, a storm was coming. The knock came suddenly, sharp and loud. The girl flinched, nearly spilling the milk. Her glowing eyes widened. "Who is it?" she whispered in fear. The man stood, his face hard. "Stay back," he told her. He walked to the door and opened it just enough to see. Outside stood 3 uniformed guards. Their armor reflected the firelight from the street, their faces cold and merciless. The tallest one stepped forward, his voice sharp. "We've been told you're hiding alien strays inside your home. Open the door, human." The man's grip on the door tightened. His voice was calm but firm. There are no criminals here, the guard sneered. Don't play games with us. Everyone has seen you bring them here. They belong to the state. Hand them over. Behind him, the girl clutched her brother. Her small body shook. She pressed her back against the wall, whispering, "No, please no." The baby whimpered as if sensing the danger. The man stepped outside, closing the door behind him before they could see inside. He faced the guards directly, his voice steady. "They're just children. They're not dangerous. They don't deserve this." The tall guard smirked. "That's not for you to decide. You're breaking the law by keeping them. If you don't hand them over, we'll drag them out ourselves and you'll be punished with them." The man's jaw tightened. His eyes burned with anger. "Then you'll have to go through me first." The guards exchanged looks. One of them laughed cruelly. "Look at this. A human ready to fight for alien trash." The tall one stepped forward again. "Move aside. Don't make this harder." Inside, the girl's breath came fast. She pressed her ear to the door. Her tiny heart pounded in her chest. She whispered to her brother, "Don't cry, don't make a sound, please." Tears streamed down her cheeks. She could hear the voices rising outside. The man stood his ground. His voice was low but unshaken. "You have no right to touch them." The guard's eyes narrowed. One reached for his weapon, but the leader held out a hand. "Not yet," he said. His lips curled in a cruel smile. "Think carefully, human. Is this worth your life? Worth your home? They will never thank you. They will never belong to you. Why throw everything away for them?" For a moment, silence hung heavy. The cold wind swept through the street, carrying the whispers of watching neighbors. Curtains shifted, faces peeked out. Everyone was waiting to see what the man would choose. He finally spoke, his voice clear. "Because someone has to. If no one protects them, then what are we?" The words echoed through the night. Some neighbors gasped, others muttered angrily. The guards' expressions hardened. Inside, the girl covered her mouth to keep from crying out. Her whole body shook, but her eyes filled with something new. Hope. The guard's patience snapped. He slammed his fist against the door. "This is your last warning. Hand them over now, or we'll come back with more men and you won't be able to stop us." The man didn't flinch. His voice was cold. "Then come back. But you won't touch them while I live." The guards stared at him, measuring his resolve. Finally, the leader spat on the ground. "You'll regret this." He turned sharply and the others followed. Their heavy steps echoed as they disappeared into the night. The man waited until they were gone before opening the door again. The girl rushed forward, clutching his coat with trembling hands. "They will come back," she whispered, her glowing eyes filled with terror. "They will take us. You can't stop them forever." The man knelt down, his rough hands resting gently on her shoulders, his voice steady. "Maybe I can't stop them forever, but I can stop them tonight. And as long as I'm here, no one will take you." The girl's tears spilled over. She buried her face against his chest, still holding her baby brother tightly. She whispered through sobs, "Don't let them take us, please." The man closed his eyes, his arms wrapped around the two small figures, his heart heavy but firm. He knew what he had chosen. The burden was his now. Outside, the neighbors whispered more than ever. Some said he was brave. Others said he was a fool. But inside the cabin, for the little alien girl and her brother, the man had become something they had never known before: safety. And though the storm was only beginning, that night they felt for the first time that they were not alone. The next morning came with heavy silence. The little alien girl woke up to the sound of her baby brother breathing softly in her arms. For a brief moment she thought maybe the danger had passed, maybe the guards would forget. But the man's face told her otherwise. His eyes were sharp, his jaw tight. He knew they would return. He went outside early to fetch water. Neighbors stood, in groups, staring. Some shook their heads, others whispered loudly enough for him to hear. "Foolish human. He will bring trouble for all of us." One man spat near his feet, muttering, "You'll lose everything for them." The man didn't answer. He only carried the water back to his cabin. By afternoon, the punishment began. The man went to the market to trade for food, but the seller pushed him away. "No trade for you," the seller snapped. Anyone who protects strays is no friend of mine. The crowd around murmured in agreement. The man's hands clenched, but he said nothing. He walked away hungry. Inside the cabin, the girl saw his empty hands. Her glowing eyes widened. They refused you, didn't they? She whispered. The man nodded slowly, trying to smile. Don't worry, I'll find another way. But she could see the truth. His kindness was costing him everything. The next day, his employer came to his door, a stern man with cold eyes. You're finished, he said sharply. No human who breaks the law can work for us. Your wages are cut, you're out. The man only nodded. His jaw tightened, but he didn't beg. He closed the door quietly. The girl watched with fear, clutching her brother. They're taking everything from you, she whispered. Her small voice trembled. This is my fault if we weren't here. The man crouched in front of her. His eyes softened. Don't ever say that. This is not your fault. This is my choice, and I don't regret it. But the truth was heavy. Every day became harder. Food grew scarce. The man began eating less. Pushing his share toward the children, the girl noticed. Her glowing eyes filled with tears as she whispered, You're hungry too. Why give it all to us? He smiled faintly, though his face looked thinner now. Because you need it more than I do. That's what family does. The word family struck the girl deeply. She had never heard it spoken that way. She lowered her head, whispering softly, Family, as if testing the word on her tongue. Her little brother clutched her finger and giggled weakly, but the burden did not stop. At night, stones were thrown at the cabin. Voices shouted from outside, Get rid of them. We don't want them here. The man stood in the doorway, refusing to move. The girl hid under the blanket with her brother, her heart racing with fear. One evening, as the fire burned low, she crept closer to him. Her small voice broke the silence. Why do you fight so hard for us? We are not your kind, we are not human. The man looked at her, his tired eyes firm. Because you're children, because no one else will, and because you remind me of something I lost. His voice grew softer. I couldn't save my sister, but I can save you. The girl's chest tightened. Tears filled her glowing eyes. She whispered, Then maybe you are my father now. The words slipped out before she could stop them. She froze, embarrassed. But the man's eyes widened. His heart pounded in his chest. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then slowly, he reached out and rested, a rough hand on her shoulder. His voice was low, filled with emotion. If you want me to be, then I am. The girl's tears spilled over. She leaned forward and hugged him tightly, still holding her brother in one arm. I thought all humans were monsters, she whispered. But you are different. From that night, something changed in the cabin. The man was no longer just a stranger. He had become their protector, their family. But outside, the world grew darker. The guards had not forgotten. The colony had turned against him. And now, he had lost his work, his food and his safety. The price of kindness was heavy. But as the little alien girl smiled for the first time in weeks and as her brother laughed in his sleep, the man knew one thing with certainty. No matter the cost, he would not abandon them. The storm outside was growing. But inside the cabin, a fragile bond of love had begun, stronger than law, stronger than fear. The night was cold and the wind howled around the small cabin. The man sat near the fire, his shoulders heavy. He had nothing left to give. The colony had turned against him. His work was gone, his food almost finished, his name whispered like a curse among neighbors. Yet when he looked across the room, he saw the alien girl rocking her baby brother gently, both safe, both alive, and he knew he would do it all again. The girl looked up at him with her glowing eyes. They no longer carried only fear. There was warmth now, trust, even something deeper. She whispered softly, All I wanted that night was milk. Just milk to stop my brother's cries. But you gave us more than that. The man smiled faintly, though his eyes looked tired. What did I give you? he asked quietly. She hugged her brother closer and whispered, "A family, you gave us a father." The words hit him like a weight and a gift at the same time. He turned his face away so she wouldn't see the emotion in his eyes. For years, he had lived alone, with no reason to wake up each morning. Now 2 small lives depended on him, and somehow that gave him strength. But danger was never far. Days later, the guards returned, this time with more men. Their boots pounded against the ground as they surrounded the cabin. Neighbors peeked. Out from their windows waiting for the show, the leader shouted, "Human, this is your last chance, hand them over." Inside, the girl's hand shook as she held her brother. She whispered in panic, "They've come back, they will take us." Tears filled her eyes. She turned to the man desperately. "Please don't let them take us, we can run, we can hide anything." The man stood by the door, his shoulders straight, his voice calm but strong. "I told you before, they'll have to go through me first." The guards banged on the door, ready to break it down. The girl gasped, her body trembling, but then she saw the man's steady face. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't running. He was standing like a wall between them and the world. Her heart pounded, but something in her told her to believe. The door shook with each blow. The baby cried loudly now, his small voice filling the cabin. The girl tried to hush him, but her own voice shook too much. She whispered again and again, "Please, please." Just as the guards prepared to break through, a sharp voice rang out from the street. "Enough!" Everyone turned. An elder from the colony stepped forward. He was old, with gray skin and tired eyes. He raised his hand. "Leave him. These children are not a threat. Can you not see? They are only alive because of him." The guards hesitated. The elder's voice carried authority. He looked at the crowd watching and said, "You call him foolish, but he has shown more courage than any of us. We let these children starve, while he gave them life." The murmurs in the crowd shifted. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others looked uncertain. The guards muttered angrily, but they could not openly defy the elder. Finally, the leader spat on the ground and growled, "This is not over," before signaling his men to leave. Inside the cabin, the man closed his eyes in relief. He turned to see the girl staring at him with tears running down her face. She rushed forward, hugging him tightly with one arm while still holding her brother in the other. Her voice broke as she whispered, "You saved us again. You didn't let them take us." The man knelt down and held them both close, his voice soft. "I told you, you're safe with me." From that day forward, life was still hard. Food was still scarce. Neighbors still whispered. But the guards didn't return. The elder's words had given them some protection. And in the cabin, warmth grew stronger. The girl began to smile more often. Her brother began to laugh, and the man found something he thought he had lost forever: hope. One evening, as the fire burned low, the girl sat beside him, her brother asleep in her lap. She whispered, "All I wanted was milk. That's all. But I found more. I found a home. I found a father." The man looked at her glowing eyes, so full of innocence and trust. He rested his hand on her head gently, his voice rough but full of emotion. "And I found a daughter." The cabin was silent except for the crackling of fire, but inside, something new had been built. Something stronger than fear, stronger than hate, stronger than law. It was family. And though the world outside still looked at them with suspicion, inside the cabin they had each other. And sometimes, that was more than enough.